And there it is, the final whistle, and they're out. It's all over. Oh, it's a sad moment, this. Who would want to be a football manager?
Managers can only wait and hope. Come on, Kingsey!
Stephen, go and get the ball!
This is almost fantasy football. Let's look up the next thing.
Right, that's it then, Dunfermline win, OK? This job on the pools panel's a piece of piss, isn't it? Oh, hello and welcome to Fantasy Football League.
This week we'll be meeting up once again with guest managers Karren, Brady and Roddy Doyle.
We'll be recreating one of Arsenal's greatest FA Cup final moments.
And we'll be saying a big hello to Stan Bowles.
Hi, I'm Stan Bowles, and I haven't backed a winner since the old king died.
But first, a few things we noticed from watching football this week. How long, I wonder, will Chelsea hold the Fair Play trophy awarded to them before the Spurs game last Sunday?
And Ozzy Ardiles claimed that the Tottenham board must have misunderstood his accent when he told them that at this stage in the season any new signing would be irrelevant.
And Subbuteo announced that this week from now on all their teams would contain at least 3 black players. Here, for example, is the Everton team. That's odd. Oh, they must be in here somewhere.
Probably,
got lost in
yeah,
the
probably
packaging or
tucked
something.
inside. And with the news that Graham Taylor is all set to do a Yellow Pages advert, we think it might go a little bit like this. Do I not like that? Do I not like that? It'd be something like that, anyway. And now it's over to Stato for this week's Fantasy League rundown.
Hold on, what about Stato's joke?
Oh, sorry, I forgot about that. Stato's joke, right. Now, some of you might know that in 1982, Stato was arrested at the Oval for invading the pitch with a bar stool. The devil. Right. Well, on last week's show, we saw him recaptured by the Rozzers. So what happened next?
So, Stato, I thought the police put you in prison for cricket hooliganism.
Yes, but I'm out on bail.
Fantastic. Oh, my God. Well, they never did write him like that, did they? Anyway, Stato, you were saying.
And now this week's Fantasy League news. With perfect timing, this week's guest, Karren Brady, takes over at the top of the BBC Two Fantasy League. Roy Hattersley's lead has evaporated to leave Blue Nose City out on their own with a 9-point advantage. 2 goals for Karren from Chelsea's Mark Dean were offset by -4 points from Tottenham defender Sol Campbell. But close-range efforts from Arsenal's Paul Merson and this decisive late strike from Paul Ince helped net the new leader a weekly score of 11 points. While Frank moves slowly into the mire, David goes from strength to strength. 9 more points thanks to a hat-trick from Newcastle's Andy Cole. And this opportunist strike from West Ham's Trevor Morley take David to 3rd. All this and Matt Letizier's inclusion in the England squad make it a bumper weekend for my flatmates. Lennox Lewis punches his way out of the bottom 3 with clean sheets from Neil Ruddock and Newcastle goalkeeper Pavel Cernacek. And this subtle goal from Manchester City new boy David Roadcastle. But another minus week leaves next week's guest Mandy Smith anchored at the foot of the table. With the pressure mounting, Mandy is now 12 points adrift.
Fantastic stuff. Now, if you didn't understand any of that, in the Fantasy Leagues, 15 celebrity managers each have teams made up of Premiership players that they bought at an auction. Now, these players
No,
score...
it's too dull to hear this again.
OK, then, Mr Smart Alec, right? Let me put it this way, right? Right. What's that?
Asterisk.
Yeah? And that's 3 points for a goal. And here you go, and what's this?
You've lost me.
4 points for not letting a goal in. Gets better. Oh, no! Oh!
Wait a moment, wait a moment. You lose a point for every goal you let in.
Fantastic!
Hey, that's
Fantastic,
-2.
well done. Thanks a lot then, lads. Cheers. Mine, here you go.
Oh, hold on. Oh, God, what's that on his back?
That's assist, right? 2 points for assist.
An assist. An assist, that's the pass leading to the goal.
No, you get 2 points, right, for having a big horrible growth. Right. That's why this manager of the week this week is the Elephant Man. Elephant Man. I wasn't expecting that at all.
So, you got any more jokes, Stato?
Well, yeah, there were 3 Frenchmen in a jacuzzi and...
Oh, I would love to have. Wouldn't you love to have had the punchline?
What's all that about?
Well, who's this then?
Oh, it's Karren, Brady and Roddy Doyle!
God, you know, you'll never forget that, you know. I'll wait until you laugh. No, I won't. Karren and Roddy, welcome. My God, and Karren, what a week for you because you are top of the league.
I am indeed.
Sort of dipped at the end there. But apart from that, it had everything. Spontaneity, the lot.
But this is fantastic. Roy Hattersley's been top for 5 weeks. He became the sort of Man United of the Fantasy League, and then you ghosted in like Martin Peters on the far post, and wahoo.
Oh, it's all down to Mark Steen.
Exactly, he's been doing brilliantly for you.
He has indeed, yeah.
Well, we'll talk more about your Fantasy League performance after. Unfortunately, Birmingham City, which of course is your club, haven't quite reflected your performance in their league.
What's the problem there?
We're struggling a bit, I think.
Can't you use some of the acumen you've built up as Fantasy League leader on Birmingham?
Well, I tried to explain this to my assistant manager who told me in the only way Edwin can.
Edwin?
To mind my own business.
Is that Edwin Starr?
No, Mark Steve's brother, as it
right.
happens, told me in the only way that he knows how to mind my own business.
Right.
And how easy it was to have a team from the couch in your living room. So
No, it's not though, is it? It's not, because you've built it up over a long period of time.
I have. I've nurtured my team.
Yeah.
I've picked them every week.
Yeah.
So what's happened with Blues, though?
Well, we've changed managers, as you know, and we've...
Oh, yeah, I read about that, actually.
Yeah, and we've bought really a new team, and we're just trying to settle them down. We've had a few injuries, and we're trying to get over them and start again. And we've got a big game on Saturday against Barnsley, who are also at the bottom.
That is a big game,
So,
isn't
yeah.
it, Barnes?
Well, it is for us. It is for us.
Is it live on the telly?
It should be. But I mean, it's difficult for us because we're at the bottom and
Would
they're
you get
at
us
the
a
bottom,
souvenir brochure while you're there? Just for the kids, you know, not for me. No, it will be a big game. It'll be a bottom of the table.
It'll be a bottom of the table clash. So
because
it's important for us.
tough, isn't it? Because I mean, as you know, I lived in Birmingham for a long time. Well, near Birmingham, of course, I lived in the Black Country, which is a bit nicer. And
Birmingham's very nice.
it is. It's very
a
nice,
lovely
Birmingham.
place.
We love it, don't we?
I do.
Yeah, and they want a bit of success there, don't they? 'Cause,
We do, yeah. We haven't had much success for years, but I mean, we've come in and in 11 months we've...
Sorry, you're speaking the footballer's tense there. For a minute. I've come in, I've managed the club.
No,
We've gone down.
come in. No, we've appointed the managers we felt would do right for the club, and we've backed them and we've given them money, and now we've got to leave it to them to do what they hopefully can do best and pull us out of the situation we're in and avoid relegation and hopefully start next year. The good thing about football is you start every season on a level playing with every other side, and you've got enthusiasm and as much go for the next season. So that's what we're looking forward to.
Well, I was with Birmingham City the last time they went into Europe, in fact, and there was a bit of trouble on the boat going over, and they ripped the sails down. A couple of lads pushed a cannon overboard. But they were a good team. In fact, we thought to cheer you up, Karren. I hope this does cheer you up, but we'll show you a bit of classic Birmingham action.
Leaving it to Styles. Burns got up well. Francis! Beautiful set piece. Superbly done. Pivot running
Should never have sold him.
No, I probably wasn't born when he was sold, but...
Roddy,
Hello.
Roddy, we spoke to you 3 weeks ago, and we were going on about Chelsea being still in the FA Cup, and incredibly, 3 weeks later, we can still talk about it. That's a rare thing, isn't it?
Yes, it is very rare, although I can confidently predict that Wolves will beat them in the quarterfinal.
That's not what I would call confidence from a Chelsea fan, but I can feel a creeping optimism, actually.
Yeah, that worries me. I felt that we were talking earlier, we were talking about will we go to the semi-final, and I just decided to knock that one on the head. They'll be beaten in the quarterfinal.
Oh, well, that's rather depressed me.
No, it worked last time, because she said on the show that Oxford had beat them, and they didn't. So
that's the only reason I'm saying it. I actually do
right.
believe that Chelsea will hockey.
Well, it takes a very good team to beat Wolves, I'll tell you. Do you, Karren, do you sort of regret now, having taken all this stick from the tabloids and Birmingham City not doing very well, do you wish you'd stuck to working for the Sunday Sport and not gone into football at all?
No, I don't. Football is a lovely game. There isn't anything better to do, and everyone here will agree. Saturday afternoon, whoever you support, you go down, you get the atmosphere, you enjoy yourselves. And I'm pleased to say that our club in particular, because we've had our problems with crowd trouble in the past, is becoming more and more of a family club. And we've started a scheme where kids can come and watch the game for £1. And there's nothing kids can do for £1 nowadays.
I heard you were offering all tickets for £1, actually.
Well, no. Only the kids for £1. Only kids for £1. But
Do you read what's written about in the papers, or do you not bother?
I do read it, to be fair. I mean, it's hard not to, because you get all your friends saying, oh, God, have you seen the back page of the Daily Mirror and blah, blah, blah. It's hard not to read it, and 9 times out of 10, things are good. I mean, The Sun have always, I think, for me, have been totally fair. They've been totally down the line, and I think that is a paper that I would say...
That is a first for British television. There's been a lot of writing about football in the last few years, I think. There's been a big explosion of writing about football, probably since Fever Pitch was written. And I wonder what you thought about that, because, I mean, I personally think that if you get really good writing about football, it's likely to make me cry more than almost anything else.
But I think actually the best type of football writing is the writing that sort of describes the atmosphere and the fans and what goes on around the club and what goes on among the people in the terraces, rather than... I find descriptions of actual games quite tedious.
Well, exactly. I mean, that's the thing about Fever Pitch that is in that it's consumption of the game rather than just about the description of what happens on the pitch.
It's about the emotion as well.
Next week on The Late Show.
So I tell you who has written a really good book, worth reading. Jimmy Greaves wrote a book called Don't Shoot the Manager, about England football managers. That is a really good book.
Is it?
And only Jimmy can write it as Jimmy can write it, and it's funny and it's informative. It's a really good book. Worth
There's a
reading.
certain element of doubt in the audience.
It's a really good book.
I'm actually writing a book myself called The Day We Played Barnsley. And it's short, but there's some colour in it, I'm telling you. Anyway, what we've done, we've put together a little sort of a montage, if I may use that word, of some of our favourite football writing, and we'll be asking you your opinion after.
We're appealing for offside. The Germans, and they're in trouble. Alcantara.
Lineker looked frenzied. He looked mad with joy, eyes bulging wide and staring all around as he sprinted away, fists and teeth clenched. And the support of the boys singing in the stand was fantastic. They blundered and shoved and banged and barged their single-minded and sleepless way around Italy for a month. And still they were there. They'd been spat at and shot at and shat on all round. They'd been sat down and stood up. They'd been herded over here and marched over there. And still they were singing, because this was their time. In this great bowl of light beneath the Alps, in this raging cavern brought to life against all the odds, against all adversity, by the England football team.
We got knocked out 1-0 at West Brom. I'd been forced to go to bed before the result came through. The tie was played on a Wednesday night, and my mother wrote the score down on a piece of paper and attached it to my bookcase, ready for me to look at it in the morning. I looked long and hard. I felt betrayed by what she had written. If she loved me, then surely she could have come up with a better result than this. Just as hurtful as the score was the exclamation mark she had placed after it, as if it were, well, an exclamation. It seemed as inappropriate as if it had been used to emphasise the death of a relative. Gran died peacefully in her sleep. Exclamation mark.
So Lineker's picked the ball up in the centre. He's looked up. He's seen Jeff Thomas making a terrific run, lonely and long distance. Thomas could really run. He knew that running lay at the heart of the game. He knew everything there was to know about running. Shooting, he was a bit sketchier about it.
Okay. But you wrote you wrote a really nice piece about the David O'Leary penalty. And I would have thought if Chelsea win the cup, you must be inspired to write something about it.
Well, you have to. You see, it's a bit like Wordsworth said, thoughts recollected in tranquility. You have to put it away for a couple of years before I can... I actually did literally start crying when I was writing that piece. I said it in the thing, I'm crying now, and I was. Yeah. Sap that I am, I was crying. And I still get very emotional about that penalty and about the cup, Charlie Cook's shot to Peter Osgood in 1970, and I still get all wobbly about it. So I couldn't... If Chelsea won the cup this year, I couldn't write about it until possibly 1998, 99.
Roddy, I can hear your voice.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm getting worked up there.
As well as being mass hysteria.
Anyway, look, speaking of writing, we are now launching this week our new Spot the Ball competition, right? So if you do spot the ball during the show, just put it on a postcard, send it to us, and who knows, you could be this week's winner.
So, Karren, your team, the leader of the league. Let's have a look at the championship team at the moment. And, well, you're obviously doing incredibly well because you're one of the few managers who've got all plus players, apart from Sol Campbell, who you've stuck with.
I have. I mean, I only have 2 fullbacks, and I chose Sol Campbell because I went to this season's Arsenal Tottenham game at Tottenham, and I thought he played really well.
How's your... It is Sol, isn't it?
Sol.
Sol, S-O-L. Sol.
Just Sol?
Yeah.
Like the beer?
Like the beer. Or the lager,
it's short for anusol, apparently.
I'm going. I can't be in the same programme anymore.
Apparently his father was a chemist, and the mother said, what shall we call him? And she said, you know, junior aspirin was just rubbish. And so they went for Sol. His brother Anus apparently was absolutely... Well, they were twins.
They were twins.
Bring the team graphic up again, please.
So the last time we spoke to you, you were worried about your midfield. And something we noticed about your midfield, you've got Glenn Hoddle and John Barnes. Now, do you know that you are the only manager in the Fantasy League who's got 2 players who've both been on top of the Pops?
I come from Jamaica. My name is Don Bonnet. When I do my thing, the crowd goes bananas.
Brilliant, brilliant.
Do you remember, you know that the John Barnes there is from a thing called Liverpool Rap?
It's Anfield Rap, isn't it?
Is it Anfield Rap?
It's Anfield Rap, I think.
But
What do you think of that?
Rubbish.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
Craig
it's easy
Johnson
to criticise, but
Am I right?
yeah.
I
My
think
foot
Craig
was tapping.
Johnson wrote it.
Really?
Which is why it's rubbish from him.
Did Craig Johnson write
I think
it?
so, yeah. Yeah, it was one of his sidelines, writing bad songs. I remember reading an article about him. He invents things and writes bad songs.
Oh, really? What did he invent?
I can't remember. I can't remember.
Sorry?
He didn't invent it, did he? The Predator.
No, he invented the tongue.
He invented the tongue? No, that was God. I'm sure of that.
There must be some sort of patent trouble with that, isn't there? You just go into the patent office and say, look, I've invented this thing. What do you think? Where is it? Oh. Karren, there's no doubt that the star of your team, as you've already suggested, I think, is the star of your team is Mark Stein. And he's been brilliant. And I've got to credit you for this because I remember at the auction when you said you were going to buy Mark Stein and everyone said, oh no, he's a terrible waste of money. Chelsea's bought him. He's only got 2 goals. And typical woman, she doesn't know anything about football. And you bought him and whoosh.
I thought that Mark had done very well at Stoke, and obviously them being in the same division as us, I've seen him play. And it takes a few months for people to settle down when they move to teams, and I was so confident that he would do well once he moved. And as I say, Edwin is my assistant manager, so I sort of thought, well, I'll take him anyway. But I was confident that he'd do well, and he really has done exceptionally well.
No,
He has done incredibly well because he's so...
Just excuse us, I must take that rubbish out.
Yeah, okay.
He stinks.
He's so small as well, isn't he? I mean, you know this as a Chelsea fan. We've got the smallest team ever.
I think Martin's actually quite tall by Chelsea standards, isn't he?
Actually, you've got a very big player on your team, Brian Dean, but before we go on to your team, I must just apologise about when you were here last time, because you were really rudely interrupted by Max Bygraves turning up on your team. I am sorry about that.
That's okay.
I don't think I don't know what's going on.
Hello there. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, it's Max again to sing a few of your favourite football chants. Here's one of my favourites. Shit ground, no fans. Shit ground, no fans. Shit fans, no ground.
Max! Not now, mate. Not
Here's
now.
one. I heard the away fans singing at Watford a few years ago. Elton John is homosexual. Elton John. Boing, boing. Boing, boing.
Get out, Max.
Boing, boing.
I'm sorry about that, Roddy. It's just because you come on. I think he likes you for some
That's
reason.
mutual, I love him.
Let's have a look at your team now while we're here. There it is, Dublin Mönchengladbach. You can only just about get Mönchengladbach in there. So it's...
What have I missed?
Oh, Max turned up again, I'm afraid. Yeah. Roddy's team.
Roddy's team. There's a strange thing about your team, Roddy. They seem to have all been involved in penalty decisions just lately.
Yep.
And this is an incredible penalty. One of the worst decisions I think I've ever seen for a penalty.
That's incredible, because you watch that and you think, well, they haven't shown the penalty clip.
So if it hits you in the stomach and you're outside the area, near enough, right?
Yeah.
That was Scott Fitzgerald.
That was my literary player.
Yes.
Yeah. And that cost me a clean sheet.
Yeah, you must have been outraged by that.
I was furious. I was absolutely furious. I trashed the kitchen. I was listening to it on channels. Radio.
You were listening to it on the radio?
I was. I threw the kids out the
Right.
window. I couldn't.
And you were still outraged? But
Still, even on the radio, you could tell it wasn't a penalty.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I just knew from the sound of the ball hitting his chest. He was outside the penalty.
Yeah, your radar was in.
Though it has to be said, not all your defenders are involved in quite so controversial penalty decisions. There was one the other night which I think probably was a penalty, to be fair.
Involves Gary Kelly.
There's Gary Kelly in the white shirt and...
Just a suspicion of handball.
There's an explanation. Gary Kelly is Irish, and like Kevin Moran, who also played Gaelic football, what happens is now and again, just you forget what game it is you're playing.
The other really odd penalty incident involving one of your players was Dean Saunders. This was it.
First of all, they couldn't find the penalty spot, right? So there they are.
Looking for it. And obviously Groundsman just painted penalty spots all over the ground to try and confuse them.
There's the ref pacing out the penalty thing. By the way, viewers at home, if you shake the telly now, you actually get a little snowstorm.
In actual fact, the penalty spot did turn up later on.
There it is.
On the back of Jimmy Hill's head, which is odd, isn't it?
How did he get there? That is spooky.
Not very odd.
Oh, look, let's not go into that now.
Why not?
Because I think it is time for Phoenix from the Flames. This week, we went to Highbury to recreate the goal that helped clinch the double for Arsenal. So, Charlie, what do you remember about that Arsenal double-winning team?
What do I remember about it? Well, I thought we was quite an entertaining team. Not like the public thought that we were boring, and we had some very good players in the side. Bob Wilson, Frank McClintock, George Graham, and Doyle, who did the tactic.
Yeah, what I remember about that final is that it was sort of the first final that I remember because it was kind of a classic FA Cup final. You know, the grass was really green and the day was really bright. So I wondered if we could recreate, you know, the whole day.
I think that seems quite a nice opportunity to make our way to Wembley, and we'll have a look at the stadium.
Yeah. OK, Bob, your deal. No, I'm just hoping to enjoy the day, you know. It's Football Focus. It's very good, isn't it? I watch it every week. Do you ever get any vacancies at all? I'm just wondering. Because there's not much in it, is there? It's just, you know, Charlie George.
Well, I think you'd be quite good on Football Focus, Bob, you know, being an ex-school teacher and all that.
Oh, thank you, Charlie. You ever thought about getting a perm at all?
Don't be ridiculous. What do you mean, like Lenny Bennett?
Yeah, something like that. Oh, I don't know. This coach is making me feel sick.
Yeah, I don't like coaches either.
No, not this coach, that coach.
Lads, you know they're playing these fancy little cards like your fives and your picture cards? That's how the Continentals play. Get a nice big ace in, right down the middle, eh? Route 1.
Then we got there and it was time to inspect the pitch.
Right, lads, now you have a good look at that pitch. There's long grass, the short grass, the slippery patches. It's unreliable. Get the ball nice and high in the air, away from the surface. Charlie, are you inspecting the pitch or what?
Oh, shut up, Don.
Charlie, pay attention.
Yeah, anyway.
What happened next?
Then it was the community singing.
OK then, all together now. Charlie George, superstar, wears frilly knickers and a Playtex bra. Everybody.
Right, now it's the final period of extra time. Tell us about your goal.
Well, Ray Clemens took a goal kick. He kicked it past the halfway line with George Graham headed it back to me. I knocked it out to Radford. Brady knocked it inside to me. I cut inside 2 Liverpool defenders and tucked a tremendous shot into the corner of the net.
George! George has done it! George has done it! A tremendous shot! 6 minutes!
Oh, I knew I should have inspected the pitch.
Actually, we should thank Arsenal for letting us use Highbury.
Isn't that a fabulous stadium?
It is. You know, we take the mickey out of Arsenal, but they were damn good. And, of course, we loved Don Howe, really. Good player. Then it all went wrong, didn't it?
We've had a letter.
Have we?
Yeah, we've had a letter.
I'm beside myself.
It's from Verda Gronenberg, who says she watches the show on the World Service. And it says, Dear David and Frank, I think referees are far too lenient on dirty players. I'd like to see a clip of a referee who really knows how to keep the players under control. I don't know if Vinnie Jones had done a refereeing job. Incredible.
That's fantastic, isn't it? I love the ideas of referees just knocking players about when they get out of hand. Marvellous stuff.
So that's it. Next week's guests are Mandy Smith and Eddie Large.
So thanks a lot, Karren. Thanks a lot, Roddy. Thanks for coming along tonight. Thanks to the Elephant Man and to Asterix and Obelix.
And Max. Yeah, what do you mean, indeed?
Of course, I didn't know he was here.
Just before we go, loads of people have written to us asking what the lyrics are to the song at the end, which is incredible. But we'll just play it, and we'll see if we can work it out.
They're quite complicated, but just follow the words and you'll soon pick them up.
All right? If you want to write to us, or if you want more information